is a bad example. It is something that should not happen.
Minister, Honourable Member of Parliament, what measures do you propose to enhance, transparency and accountability in government administration?
Well, the measures are that you must follow the law. Okay, that's number one. Follow the law. We were discussing somewhere with my friends, and I told them that, look, all these acts of parliaments, like the IBA, they regulate the conduct of people. It is us who are regulated by those, by provisions in those acts of parliament. But the Constitution will regulate the conduct of government. So both the people and government have laws that regulate their conduct. So on the part of us, the citizens, the workers and everybody, we must be able to obey the law. And on the part of government, government must also be able to obey the law. They must abide by the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the Republican president swears to uphold the Constitution. So you can't have government abrogating the Constitution and the people on the other side abrogating laws and think that you can create a good administration. It's impossible. This is why you see people resigning everywhere every day. ZCMIH board chairperson resigns. The chairperson at ZAMSA complains about interference. The one board member at ZESCO resigns, micromanagement. It's just bad. The situation is bad. ACC DG forced to resign or resigns, whatever the case is. The board fired there. So you have all these issues. And remember, you also take decisions that are not supported by the law. Do you remember the illegal audits? The illegal audits at Ministry of Finance? The audits where they went and started auditing cantonments without the approval by the president? If the president approved anyway, there were demands to show, and that was not shown. But also the auditor who should have made the request refused to have done that. You remember those issues? So you can't expect accountability when an auditor general will walk into the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Agriculture, demands these documents, and you tell them get out.
But how do we enhance transparency?
How you enhance? Follow the law. The Auditor General is mandated by law to audit. So when he went to the Ministry of Agriculture, he was following the law. So the players there needed to follow the law. They didn't. What were the sanctions? Nothing. What has UPND done about those vouchers which were not given to the Auditor General? Maybe they have even hidden them further now. You understand? So the problem is government. The problem is UPND government. Look, a board member at what you go the ACC says that there is corruption in ACC. Instead of the auditors rushing to ACC to go and audit the corruption that has been proclaimed by a board member within the ACC, nothing has been done. Absolutely nothing. And there is no one who is even concerned about that. You see that? So you have a situation where there is a risk. Those who should actually, clarify the risk are not rushing there. Okay? You have a problem at the presidential pavilion. A jet lands there, and there is trade in gold there. Okay? Instead of taking that matter seriously, concluding it properly in the eyes of the public and coming to the people to explain, you just start hearing, there's one Zambian who has been arrested, the foreigners have gone, the aircraft has gone. You are just hearing. That is not accountability. That, in fact, is bad governance. What you have to ensure is that when an issue is of public interest, that issue should be taken to the logical conclusion, and people must be kept informed.
Well, those went through a court process, Honourable.
Well, anyway, I'm telling you that what you need is a proper investigation, a proper identification of everyone involved, and a proper disposal of cases that each one of them has been lumped with. That is what you need. You can't have one or two people being being sanctioned for. Let me ask you a question on that, since it went through the court process and you are comfortable. Do you know how the plane parked at the presidential pavilion?
I'm not here to answer questions, Honorable. I'm here to
No,
ask
no, no.
you questions. I'm not at liberty to answer questions.
No, no, no. Because
So you explain to us your opinion on
my
it,
opinion.
and I'll ask you the question.
Okay, good. My opinion is this. That investigation was poor, the communication was poor, and what came out is a demonstration of a government that is poor at accountability. Because for me, they are small things. Because I've been to airports before, and I've landed at airports, and I've inspected airports before. And I do know that planes don't park anyhow. Planes are directed to park. So for me, simple question: how did the plane park at the presidential pavilion? How was it directed? That entire airport expanse, it was directed to park at the presidential pavilion. Why? Who did that? Who are they? Who are those people? What has happened to those people? Who sanctioned that? What has happened to whoever sanctioned that? Because that location needs to be sanctioned. Even Emirates won't park anywhere. The guy who is directed the Emirates to park where it is parking has been sanctioned to do so. So those are the problems. But you have a government that does not want to account, isn't it? Where, do you know, I don't know if you know what happened to that truckload of lithium which was caught in southern province at a border crossing. And the people who were carrying that, they declared sand. They said, no, what we're carrying, mchanga. We're exporting mchanga. Instead of declaring taxes to the government to a tune of 150 million, you declare 18,000 what? What is government saying about that? They are quiet. The ACC is quiet. DEC is quiet. The police are quiet. You understand? The things you are going to hear are those things which are related to PF. That's why even me, when I go in my constituency, in my own constituency, I'm visiting people, a policeman starts calling me. Okay? No, there are issues of public order. I asked him, public order where? No, I'm just getting instructions from the higher officers. Where are you getting instructions from? Kasama. Then I said, am I elected in Kasama? I'm elected in Lunte. Lunte is not in Kasama. I can't have a meeting in Kasama. I'm having meetings in Lunte. No, sir, these are just instructions. Is that governance? That is poor governance.
Honorable, I want to put something that you've also raised to you. You touched on issues to do with, let's say, corruption.
Yes.
Highlighted corruption in most of the cases that you brought forward here.
Yeah.
What strategies do you think need to be employed by government to combat corruption? Which has been identified as a major obstacle to economic growth. And as far as corruption is concerned, President Hakainde Hichilema made it, the hallmark of his administration to fight and combat corruption and do this with the most aggression that he can do. So every time he speaks, he talks about the fight against corruption.
Yeah. Pizzi, yeah, I think for the UPND government, for me, I don't really mind what they say. They are talking does not move me anymore because they've talked about a lot of things. The only promises which come to light are promises about arrests. When you are the UPND saying we'll arrest you, then you know that's a promise they'll be able to fulfill. Because take simple promises like reducing the cost of the dollar. The dollar has increased, I don't know by what percentage, from the time they came into office. Take a simple example of reducing the cost of milk. reducing the cost of fuel, okay, democratizing the nation, improving governance. These are promises which were very clear. Reduce the cost of fertilizer. Everything they said is in the opposite. So you can't tell me that now what they say on podiums are things I can take. I am not able to. But I'll just advise them. My advice to them is that if you think the law that is governing the fight against corruption is not strong, amend the law. You have the power, do your consultations, consult SEC, let them show you the gray areas, consult the Minister of Justice, let them come up with the proper amendments to that particular law, and then take it to your cabinet, approve it for publication and onward transmission to the Assembly, let it be enacted so that you have a good law. But also, your policy must be a good policy. You must have a good policy. Your policy should not be segregative. Your policy, when applied, it should show that it's a consistent policy. It is also a policy that is fair in application. And then you must have a good administration for the actual administration of the fight against corruption. You can't have, for example, right now, SEC has an acting director general. Okay, and has no board. And according to that SEC is under the office of the president. So how do you expect those people to operate? How do you expect them to operate? So create those structures. Make sure, if that person who is sitting there is not the right person, remove them and don't take them to holding position at cabinet office. You just remove them, send them home or send them in foreign mission or give them another position where you think they can operate. And then employ somebody who you are comfortable with. Take that person's name for ratification at the Assembly. Let that person be ratified. Let them carry the power and then appoint the board. Today, please, we are losing donor support as a nation. That must hate you, that must hate me, it must hate everybody. We are losing donor support because of the poor fight against corruption. Okay? But this poor fight against corruption, since they have touched SEC, they are talking about government-wide corruption. It's government-wide corruption. I heard one, I think I read in one newspaper yesterday where one diplomat was saying there's too much corruption in the mining sector. In the mining sector, Zambians are not getting the full value from the mining sector because of corruption. Now, if a diplomat can talk like that, diplomat, it's not you, PZ, it's not me, it's not even that other person it's a diplomat who is saying that these are people who support us. Then they are saying there's too much corruption there. And that is at the back of withdrawing support from supporting, SEC. This conversation around corruption from diplomats began with the Swedish ambassador. A long time ago, the Swedish ambassador said there is too much corruption in Zambia, the Swedish people can't even come and invest here. They were called, talked to. Now they can't hold it anymore. It's too much. Every day there are issues. A board member says, no, if we issue pile, for us to just proceed with a procurement, we had to consult the State House. State House had to tell us, no, these particular contractors are in good standing with UPND. Who told you that you can only contract somebody who is in good standing with UPND? Which law provides for that? Because business is business. And don't be fooled. These businessmen, some of them are supporting UPND. Others are supporting the opposition political parties, whichever they are, whether it's PF, whether it's CF, whether it's socialist, because each one of them is a human being. Behind each one of those companies, there are human beings who have human feelings, who think that UPND should be supported. Some think that PF should be supported. Others think that CF should be supported. So you can't say only Ababa UPND. This is government money. So it's very unfortunate. This fight against corruption is just damaging the reputation of UPND instead of enhancing it. If I were UPND, I would stop talking about it, because you can't have ministers being summoned by SEC and then you hide their names and then you say we are fighting corruption. Bali fisa mashina yama ministers bakabwalala who are appearing before SEC. Bali fisa who take on us. The other time about FIC, that we have given 810 reports to law enforcement agencies. 810 reports. So Shonsa Shilempia by $60 billion, kwacha $2.8 billion, $35.5 billion kwacha through FIC illicit financial flows. All those, the law enforcement agencies, they have the names. But UPN...
I'm going to throw it to you, Honorable.
Yeah.
It goes back to my question, where what kind of strategy does government need to employ to make sure that these things are not happening? How do we strengthen this system?
Ukusunga ba UPN mu office kuba chusha. They don't know what to do. Keeping the UPND in office beyond 2026 is troubling them. It's not even, okay, we the Zambian people are being troubled by the high cost of living, the high cost of capital, you know, the poor economic environment, the poor social environment. We are under serious problems.
Is it a UPND issue? It's just a Zambian issue? Because you can't, if it says just a UPND issue as far as corruption is concerned, you had corruption under the PF.
There was allegations of corruption, as well, not as much as there is now. Not as much as there is now. Remember, the FIC, the highest number you had at FIC in illicit financial flows was 2 billion kwacha. 2 billion kwacha. That is the highest number you had when PF was in office. Today, in 3 months, 60 billion kwacha. In 3 months, 60 billion. This is a time when a mining company can be saved from paying tax, which is close to $1 billion. Or is it? $1 billion. This is the time when a mining company can move $2.5 billion to Panama. Okay? And they are going to police station, a minister will go and withdraw a case. A minister, a government minister will go and withdraw a case. Okay? So that those people are free. This is a time when 51% shares of Mopani can be transacted in such an opaque manner that everybody is confused. Even the financial markets are confused because on one instance, you announce a sale of 51% shares. You even publish the announcement. On another instance, as government, you come and change the announcement to an allotment. Okay, so you have a big problem in UPND. Let me tell you, there is no government in Zambia which will ever be as corrupt as UPND. Never. And there has never been, and there will never in future.
Honorable Kafwaya, you touched on issues to do with the cost of living. Let's look at you. You're from the Patriotic front.
Yes.
How do you plan to address the rising cost of living, and what economic recovery measures will you implement if elected into office in 2026? What's your plan as a PF?
Well, I like the way you put it to me, you know, like I'm the Patriotic Front.
You're a member of the Patriotic Front.
Yes,
I'm a senior member of the Patriotic Front.
I'm just thinking to myself.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you.
You were an aspiring presidential candidate for
absolutely. But here is the point, my brother. You have to go back 3 years. Okay, go back 3 years and observe what used to happen then. Okay, then government used to store food for the people, recognizing the possibilities of floods, recognizing the possibilities of droughts and any other calamities. Government used to store food. What did UPND do? They exported all the maize. And then they began to import. In those imports, there are a lot of questions. You go and contract a mining company to transport. Now there are emerging stories that all the money all the maize that was paid for has not come to Zambia. So you have big problems. So firstly, consider people. To reduce the cost of Nshima in this country, you have to have more maize produced. You have to have more finger millet produced. You have to have more cassava produced. To do that, you know who produces these commodities. It is the poor farmers. So offer them adequate and coordinated support. You can't have support which is misappropriated, support which is actually stolen by political players. You can't do that. What you need to do is support the small farmers adequately and ensure that that support reaches the farmers in their actual numbers. Then you can produce more. Then you can begin to store some and be able to store for a bad day. Remember when there was COVID? I came here, you interviewed me, Peter, when there was COVID. That time, people were fearing to trade. People were fearing to go out to the public. Why? There was a disease that could not be explained. So in times of that disease, that's when you need maize to come out of the storage towards the people. But today, you don't have maize in the storage. What you have is maize in Tanzania. That's what you have. So you have to pay for that maize. And you are paying for that maize at a time when businesses are bad. People can't pay a lot of taxes because you have closed down their businesses. So it's a big problem. On the financial side, you have created a problem. On the supply side, you have created a problem. But the demand is so huge because people want to eat every day. That is why Mkaladi Obwari wama aflatoxins.
I want to put a point across.
Yes.
Since you brought up maize,
yeah,
and making sure that it's in, steady supply or maybe abundant supply,
yeah,
having bumper harvest. There are things that have happened since the PF left. Yeah. Okay, the prices have gone up, but let's look at the dynamics that necessitated the prices to go up. Fertilizers gone up. Obviously, the war in Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia brought a disruption to these markets directly. That necessitated the price for agriculture inputs to increase to the level that we're seeing today. And saying that, and just speaking from your point, saying that in 2026, if you took over office, you'd make sure that there's a whole supply of there's a bumper harvest, there's a steady supply of maize on the market, and that will in turn reduce the cost of living. Are you ignoring the fact that we have these other items that are surrounding the reason why the price is so high as far as maize is concerned?
Okay, so and by the way, that's not a rigid response I offer you. Okay, I offer you my limited thinking based on what has happened in the past. I have to tell you that you may have a drought in 2026 because you don't know. If you have a drought in 2026, there will be no maize, whether you like it or not, because UPND has not created those dams they have been cheating about. So the point is this: there must be flexibility in the thinking. You can't order so many metric tons of maize and bring so little. You have paid the full amount, but you have brought just a little, according to what we are hearing now. So that is bad. So corruption is also a big factor. But when you come to, to Ukraine, the war in Ukraine and so on, you need to understand that there are options in life. And as a leader or as a leadership, you need to always explore and evaluate options. You know there's a war in Ukraine. Yeah. So why are you thinking about Ukraine to supply your inputs? Are you telling me Ukraine is the only country where you can get fertilizer? Or Russia is the only country where you can get fertilizer? Of course no. There are other options that you have as a nation. Why don't you go to the Gulf region? Why don't you go to Eastern Europe? Why can't you? It's impossible to just keep thinking, to have this traditional, single-minded it's impossible to think like that.
How do you do that
so,
when the largest producers are at war?
My brother,
these other regions you're talking about have also been affected by the lack of supply by these major players in the same sector.
My brother, you can't talk like that. People have been refusing tenders because of failing to have agreements outside for their personal benefit. How can you explain that that a pharmaceutical company which is resident in one of the compounds can be given a tender to supply motor vehicles, ambulances for that matter. Do you remember the story of ambulances in the Ministry of Health? Is this a better story? So let me tell you, corruption is a big issue. This is why you'll be told things that don't exist. You can't tell me there is no fertilizer in the Gulf region. You can't tell me that. They produce more oil than Ukraine, than Russia. How can they not have more fertilizer? Those are stories which must just be thrown away. Don't even think about them. Create options. Create options. But even if you are going to import the numbers that are adequate and make sure all the imports arrive in the country. Don't create any possibility of people beginning to think that some of the imports have not arrived. Okay, like the case is. Because that now goes to corruption. That now goes to tainting your already tainted image as a corrupt government. So my friend, there's a lot that you have to do. There's a lot that you have to do. End corruption and develop programs that are supportive to the people, and those programs must be followed through. That support should be channeled through properly.
The other part of my question talked about economic recovery.
Yeah.
What would be your plan there? Since you gave us the agriculture plan, or should I be specific, the maize recovery plan?
You see, PZ, UPND has not helped this country in helping it to recover, from the ravages of the COVID-19. I'll tell you what. When UPND came into power, they said they are not going to pay any of those contractors and suppliers who supplied government because they were deemed as PF members. Okay, so those people who were supplying government at that time when PF was in office are not PF. Some of them may support PF. Some of them may support any political party. As I said, every Zambian has a right to support a political party of his or her choice. So to say that we won't pay them and to even boast that very soon they will start failing to repair their cars. Those are things you heard. Very soon, they'll start failing to fill up their tanks. What that is doing is those contractors, those suppliers are not able to go to the filling station now to buy fuel. And if that particular person cannot do that, he is not promoting the Zambian economy to grow. That particular person has people who have been fired now, who are at home, who have increased the load of joblessness. That particular decision by government not to pay that contractor means that that contractor now has less people at his office, less people working, and that means that more families are suffering. So instead of those families to continue to, to help stimulating the economy, what they are doing now is putting pressure on government. This is why today when you look at the national budget, the budget which is going to Social Security has been ballooned. Now, you are ballooning the Social Security budget at the time when you can't collect taxes from those you are not able to pay. So that thing they call multiplier effect, it is multiplying in the negative. It is subtracting, by leaps and bounds. So you have a situation where you are unable completely to recover. So clearly, what you have to do is to create policies and implement those policies which support all Zambians. All Zambians. You can't just support UPND members. Have you seen this, even that budget for, for compensation? Have you seen any other person being compensated? Any other person who is not UPND? That's why the other time in the assembly I told them, look, if you think all UPND members should be compensated, just compensate them. Because they are the only ones. Today is this UPND member, today is the other, tomorrow is the UPND. So you can't run a country like that. and expect the economy to grow. So you have to be transformational. Transform your minds first. Change. Your inclinations must move on. Okay? Yesterday in the assembly, just yesterday, my brother in the assembly, one minister rose to call me all sorts of names. You know, bitter, because he thinks that he was saying, I think that they are the ones who took away my 200,000 kwacha. I know that application fee.
Yeah, for the presidential fee.
He was saying me, I was happy when they arrested the HH and slapped him with the, what do you call, treason. I looked at that person, that minister, I said, "Do a minister imokwe na." First of all, ibomo aitwewe that jeje mwalimu ikata. Lete ni jeje. Lete ni jeje mwalimu ikata. Ifo mwatwewe. And it was unsolicited. There was there's no press query on his own. He just came and told us, we have arrested him. Where is he, jeje? Where is he? We have been hearing, you know, contradictory statements. But to just, you know, to just, you are not bitter by saying the truth. You are bitter by lying. If I'm cheating that IMF has not downgraded the projection of the GDP growth from 2.3%, which is downgraded from 4.8 to 1.25, then you can call me bitter. But this is what is there. You understand? I rose to talk about, you know, the same things, the Kawushi by-elections, you know, the conduct of ECZ in Kawambwa. I also talked about Petauka and so on. Just that warranted a minister, instead of speaking to police, and by the way, ministers are supposed to articulate policy when they rise. He starts talking about my bitterness, my perceived bitterness, and so on. Look, in a ndem yeba fie chachine. Now, where you have reached as UPND, this is why even your police would be calling me, I'm in my constituencies, telling me about public order. It's poor on the part of the police.
Take you back to my question, Honorable.
Yes.
Economic recovery.
Economic recovery is about
Economic
recovery is about economic governance. You govern the economy properly. You govern the economy properly by allowing players to play properly and also reducing your influence on transactions. Look at Kabuswe na Mopani. Look at my older brother Kabuswe with Mopani. Here on Hot FM, Kabuswe made an announcement. Is that the same announcement he came to make just a week ago in the assembly? No. So you can't govern the economy like that. You govern the economy properly and let the players play according to the rules. I already answered you, please. I just digressed. I told you, don't segregate people. Don't say abaniba PF niba socialists, they can't do business. Allow them to do business, because when they do business, they will employ Zambians. When they employ Zambians, Zambians will participate in the economy. When those Zambians participate in the economy, you are growing the economy.
Okay. Before we open the phone lines, there's something that the head of state has been pushing. He's been talking about national unity.
Yes.
What initiatives are needed to promote national unity and address regional disparities? Because we've seen him go to almost every traditional ceremony this year. He's made it a point to do that, and he's saying he's doing that because he wants the nation to unite. And this, most people have actually, you know, commended him for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, giving him kudos. But what's your take on this issue? You know, to do with the issue to do with initiatives to do with promotion of national unity and addressing regional disparities.
Okay, good. You know, the president going to traditional ceremonies across the country, it's up to him to do that. If he thinks that that is one way in which he will show national unity, again, that is his thinking, it should be respected. What I do think is that there has to be practical steps to unite the nation. That's what I think. And the practical steps must be, number one, take stock of the institutions. Okay? Take stock of, here at OTFM, observe how your structure has been resourced. That should happen at State House, that should happen at Cabinet Office, that should happen at Ministry of Finance, that should happen at ACC, that should happen at Auditor General, that should happen at Parliament, should happen in the judiciary. You see how you are sitting. See how you are sitting. If you discover that the way you are sitting in those institutions, you are not promoting national unity, modify the way you are sitting. Those are practical steps. Going to traditional ceremonies, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to comment, but maybe that's what the president thinks. One thing I heard from him is that he had started going to traditional ceremonies because he was being cheated by people in Lusaka. So he was going there to get the truth. I think having visited a number of them or attended a number of them, the president now might be sitting with the truth. I think he now knows that the Zambian people are suffering. What we have been saying, I think he knows that the cost of fuel is very expensive, not only here in Lusaka, but across the country. I think the president knows that the Zambian people are not happy with the UPND leadership. So clearly, what we have to do is to help him. Let's help him by making proposals for him to undertake certain adjustments to his government. And as far as the national unity is concerned, he doesn't need to look far. He needs to look at his institutions and how they are sitting. That is where the problem is. And also the pronouncements, the pronouncements which go on. Okay, he himself, the president, can't say imwe tamwale ya kulusaka. Ngamwa ya kulusaka, there were people waiting for you with pangas on Cairo Road. That is not promoting national unity, because we know Lusaka, who are the owners? Basori. So what are you saying about the Soli-speaking people? It's not fair. And when in Cairo Road, there's actually no one with pangas. It's not proper. So you don't indoctrinate people and expect them to love each other.
Let's get to the phone calls. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Give us a call now to be part of this conversation.
You're listening to the Hot Seat on Hot FM 87.7. It's time for you to call now and get informed.
Let's get the number and call him back on that one. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Fano Mwanga, senior citizen.
Mr. Fano Mwanga, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much, sir. I certainly agree with Honorable Kafwaya, what she had said. And I'll even add on myself to say that these visits that is making six of them, assembling them when they were coming for an occasion, for me, it shows one thing, that if the president is there campaigning, we know there are a lot of tactics that are often used in campaign. So I see those one of meeting the chief thing, unity and so on, as mayor campaign. What is that school you see about what the president is doing? If he wants unity for the people, there must be seen through his appointment. There must be seen in so many other ways. Appointments are full reflection of unity. That's what Saudi did. There are other areas that can actually make you seem as if you are doing something that people are appreciating you. But this one, people are looking at appreciating. Well, I've heard so many adverse comments by people following what the president is doing. That if this is trying to replace long time when he was flying around the world all the time, now he thinks that not happy with him. And if he and people are getting him that, definitely you may not actually get the second term. He is desperate. In other words, he's quite desperate. He feels that he may not be able to come back to power. friends in that are still in that kind of desperation. The first one that I've seen, no other part of president during elections that even they had to know that. For him, it's a panic situation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. I'd like to hear from you this morning, what you have to say regarding what we're talking about on the hot seat. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good, how are you doing? What's your name?
We are speaking to Siam. Good morning, Honorable.
Morning, thank you, Mr. Siam.
Thank you so much. Long time.
Well,
First of all, I want you to make me understand why Kafwaya is saying that he's not going to jail after 2026. With the wrong thing has committed to kill Mopani just for a song without passing through Parliament. Is there any, does Kafwaya think that he hasn't committed a crime or what? I want an answer from you, Honorable. Thank you so much, well.
All right, thank you very much. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Those lines get you to the hot seat this morning. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
Thank you. Now I hear.
All right, now, please go ahead.
Okay. What I'd like to say is that even if the president does campaigns to chiefs, what, the fact is that even if you campaign, as long as people do not want you, even if you campaign, you get nothing. And the other thing, this government, what I've said, what it does, it's full of doing things on its own without consulting citizens. We vote, but they forget about us. You see, they always do it on their own. They forget about us. They do not consult. In Parliament, nothing. They always want to do it their own. So let him do that. Let him campaign to the chief's word. But if people are decided, Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Your response to those three, Honorable.
Thank you so much, PZ, and thank you so much, Mr. Mwangala, Mr. Siam, and Mr. Nawa. I think there's little to say, to be very honest with you, about what Mr. Mwangala said. There's not much I can say. I'll move on to Mr. Siame. Just to appreciate Mr. Mwangala for calling, I think, and also having his say on this matter. Mr. Siame, I'm not sure if I'll be able to adequately make you understand why my older brother, Minister Kafwaya, is saying he and the president are not going to jail because of Mopani transaction. I don't know whether he means that no one will report him to law enforcement agencies, and whether he's saying that even if he is reported, there is nothing that the courts will do. DPP won't do anything. The courts will not handle the matter according to that report. I don't know, but what interested me is I wonder why he was actually including even the president in his statement that he will not go to jail with the president. I don't know whether in that he's suggesting that everything that my older brother Kafwaya knows, the president knows. I don't know. It's confusing. It's completely confusing. I think only in UPND do you have a situation where people think that they determine the course of everything, including the course of who goes to prison and who doesn't. Because you can go to prison, even when you think that you can't go to prison. We know people who have been jailed for nothing. We have heard about these matters. We have friends who are in prison for cases which were disposed of during election petitions. A parliamentary seat is not taken away on account of lack of evidence. That same evidence which lacked during the presidential petition, during the election petition, is what they used to jail that person. So we have colleagues who have gone to jail like that. So it's very strange. But coming to Vanawa, he's saying nangu muchite campaign kuma chiefs abantu ngana bachita decide ninshina bachita decide. And then Vanawa says ubu buteko bwa UPND tabule chita consult fwe bantu, even through the National Assembly. Peter, I don't know if you know that the national budget for 2025 is under approval. Have you heard any head being debated? No head will be debated. They have stopped debating heads. So your ministry, the Ministry of Information and Media, that budget which is allocated to them, there is no one who will debate that budget. No one. Because of the UPND government refusing to account to the people. No one will debate the Minister of Mines. Because before, when the Minister of Mines brings a policy statement, members are allowed to debate, and even the issues of Mopani would come in. You know, issues of the lithium, which was caught at a border, could come in. Issues of sewage light, which sewage light was caught in Central Province, and now we don't know where it is, could come in. Issues of gold at the Presidential Pavilion would come in. Today, no one, they just say, this ministry will just say, I'm proposing you give me 8 billion, chap. I propose you give me, that is it. This is how much UPND does not want accountability. And now is absolutely on terra firma. Let them campaign. If people have made up their minds.
Okay. Let's pick up more calls. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you. Who do we have on the line?
This is Kafwaya, Minister of Mines.
Honorable Kafwaya, please go ahead with your question or contribution to Honorable Mutotwe Kafwaya.
Honorable Kafwaya, good morning.
My older brother, good morning. Thank you.
First and foremost, I am very shocked that the Member of Parliament is leaving the House concerned, by saying that the budget is not being created. It's very unfortunate that the Member of Parliament will go and sit on the bench and listen to the state people. The standing orders, which were changed by members of Parliament, allowed that the budget would be debated at committee stage level. Everyone at committee was available to debate, and the figures were even questioned, for example, specifically for the Ministry of Mines. I don't want to go into details, but all I can say is that MPs were availed a chance to debate. Now, the reason why I called, the way our honorable member of parliament is coming out, you get shocked that these are people that were running government. He knows for sure that most of the issues that this country is grappling with are issues that have been entrenched for a long time, that cannot be resolved in 1-2 years. The corruption in PF, where he was serving, was unbelievable. The breakdown in the rule of law was unbelievable in PF, where President Hakainde Hichilema at the time was asked to, to produce a passport to enter into Chipata. A citizen of Zambia being asked to enter another district, and there is request for a passport. We can't forget when President HH was told he can't fly because President Lungu is flying. We can't forget that President HH was almost killed at Sun FM radio. He went through the roof and bullets were flying around. 2 days before voting, a bullet hit his door in Chingola. And today, what I expect people like Honorable Kafwaya is first to apologize to the atrocities, the murders that they committed during their time. These are things we are trying to correct. And when I say that I am not going to jail, neither is the president going to jail, it's not that I'm saying the courts will not do anything. It's because we have not committed a crime on the Mopani transaction. We've made it very clear. We've spoken to Parliament, the Attorney General chambers, and that Kafwaya knows that when government is making a decision, you go through the Attorney General chambers, and the Attorney General chambers has given their opinion, their legal opinion, that this does not warrant Article 210. And that opinion is in public domain, how he advised government, and we followed through because he's the chief legal advisor to government. So when the Honorable Kafwaya is talking like that, I'm so shocked. As Zambians, we must learn to take people to account. Even us as UPND, when our time comes that we leave the stage, we must be taken, did we make the right decisions? Because the Zambian population today is going through a lot of these things because we are paying the price of the criminal decisions, like the Mopani criminal decision that they made when Glencore was exiting. That deal, whoever signed deserves to be in jail. The Mopani Glencore exit deal. That was criminal. You don't do that to your own people. Us, what we are doing now is to resuscitate these things they have killed. Look at what they did to KCM. It became a cash cow. They were stealing from KCM. There was criminality there. Cadres were ordering managers. I know the stories of KCM. That liquidation was a way to siphon money out of that asset. And today, somebody has no shame. We need to have shame. Most of these criminalities we are dealing with as UPND, we are a creature of the PS. It's a spillover. We are in government. We agree. We have to take charge. And we are doing that. It's not something that will happen in a day. Even these mining companies, and I'm glad the U.S. ambassador exposed, because we need everyone to come on board and alert us that these mining companies, they have not formed their mines today. They have been mining even in PF, MMD, whatever time. So this is a spillover. So we want citizens, ambassadors to expose them, and our role as government is to go after them and deal with the corruption.
Honourable Minister, I've given you enough time to get your points across. We'll give Honourable Kafwaya time to respond to you now. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling. Honourable Kafwaya, I'll give it a chance to respond to the Minister of Mines, contribution.
Thank you so much, my older brother, Honorable Kafwaya. I would like to sincerely thank you for coming through. I observe that the minister had to come through to clarify why he is not going to prison in 2026. So I guess Mr. Siame has heard him probably for the second or third time. Now, the Honorable Kafwaya, I want to tell you that I have been a member of parliament for a little longer than you, and I have to tell you that committees don't debate. Committees don't debate what is referred to them. Instead, they make stakeholder consultations, and then they take a report to the floor of the House. That's where debate happens. I have to tell you that you are mistaken to think that when the figure or your number goes to the committee, then that is debate. That is not a debate, sir. Debate is for the people. Debate happens on the floor of the House. So there is no debate for heads. And don't even say that members of parliament made the changes to the standing orders. Those standing orders were imposed on members of parliament. This is why there was a protest even at Taj Pamosi, where members met. Members of parliament rejected those standing orders. It is very clear for everyone, both MPs from UPND and the PF and the others rejected those standing orders. Those were imposed. Let me tell you, when we sat in the expanded committee, one person even came and said, this is what we were told from the Vice President's office. Why should the Vice President get involved, or the Vice President's office get involved in what is happening at Parliament? That is the type of leadership you have created, my honorable brother, and it is a bad leadership in terms of accountability. And Honorable Kafwaya, you have continued to talk very ill about the transaction for Mopani, which ensured that the Zambian people had 100% shares. So if it was a criminal transaction, knowing your government's appetite for arresting PF members, why don't you go ahead and arrest those who transacted? Why have you failed to arrest those who transacted and parade them the same way you have paraded all the other people who are affiliated to PF? For me, I would advise you to stop talking about that criminality, but to go ahead and arrest those people you deem as criminals, you know, for going through and ensuring that the Zambian people had 100% control of Mopani through ZCCMIH. And the issues about the current president having difficulties, you know, to go around the country is not something I'll support. I don't support it now that Edgar Lungu can't go running on the street. I don't support it. I don't support it that Edgar Lungu can't go and meet a bishop in Kabwe. I don't even support it that PF members cannot have a church service at the Cathedral of the Child Jesus. You seal it with police. Sir, nothing will justify anything. You are in power now. The things which were wrong, the problems that Hakainde Chilema suffered when he was in the opposition must not occur now. That means development. That means progress. You can't keep on making reference to those difficulties, but yet you are doing worse things. I think that my brother, there you are offside. You expect people like me to apologize, okay, for the atrocities. Which atrocity did I commit for me to apologize? The mistakes which the Zambian people saw in PF caused us to get out of power. This is why we lost elections in 2021, because the Zambian people thought Milimi was too expensive. The Zambian people were told fuel was too expensive. The Zambian people were told fertilizer was too expensive. So Honorable Kabuswe, tell the Zambian people now how much is a liter of fuel. How much is a 25 kg bag of Milimi? How much is a 50 kg bag of fertilizer? These are the things. For the rule of law, and you have limited the rule of law to thuggery. Thuggery is not the rule of law. The rule of law is having an auditor general at auditor general who qualifies. That is the rule of law. The rule of law is changing the office bearers at the registrar of societies, those who go through the process. That is the rule of law. The rule of law, my friend, or maybe my brother, is to ensure that Electoral Commission conducts itself according to the law. That is the rule of law. Thuggery is thuggery, and it is not better in PF. It will never be better in UPND. So while I am sorry for what HH went through, I'm also sorry for what Edgar Lungu is going through now.
All right, let's pick up more calls. 0974-870-877, 0955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning. Who do we have on the line? Honorable Stephen Kampiongo. Please go ahead with your questions or contribution.
Morning, my other brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been following your program, and I think you have articulated issues. And what is important for those that are in authority now is to take issues as you present them, and then speak to them in terms of what they're doing, in terms of what challenges they have. I think that's a hallmark of checks and balances, and those that should be accountable to speak. Now, I'm taken aback by the contribution which has been made by the Minister of Mines, Honorable Kafwaya. I want to lecture to him that you won't hide behind the opinion of the Attorney General. Attorney General gives an opinion to government. And I'll give a classic example here. You do recall that there was an issue of ministers who stayed in office. That decision had an opinion of the Attorney General. When the court looked at it, when the matter was taken to court, those who went to court did say no because we had an opinion from the Attorney General. The court pronounced itself, and those of us who were there were made to pay. So Comrade Kafwaya should not hide behind an opinion of the Attorney General. These matters will be reviewed according to the law. So I wanted to make it clear, but also the fact that he is coming out in the manner like he's been the most UPND member. This gentleman was our mayor in Chirilabombwe under PF, and he joined UPND just before the election. Now, the danger of politicians like that is that the way he wants to speak about PF, which actually brought him into politics as a councillor and consequently a mayor, senior leadership position, and he has been part of PF. So what will stop him to come and flip around in a year or after and start saying the same very thing he's saying about PF, about UPND? This is the problem of politics of the belly, which have got no moral. Let's have morality even when we swing political positions. So when people ask him to account for the transactions in Mopani, he must just come clean without hiding behind the opinion of the Attorney General. So it won't help me at some point. So I wanted him to know. And he talked about parliamentary committee work. I sympathize with him. Of course, he was privileged to just come to Parliament and straightforward to front bench. He is yet to learn how committee work operates. This is the very first time we are trying a new modus operandi in terms of budget scrutiny and approval. And we needed to run the members of the public to understand, to appreciate. Because what Mutotwe Kafwaya is saying, what people have known is that budget estimates will be tabled on the floor and debated as policy, and then we go into the nitty-gritties of the yellow book publicly. That's what you are saying. So we need to carry the public so that they follow through these things. We belong to an institution where we represent people, and all the work we do there is people's work. So when we express concerns about the modus operandi now, you saw even across both ruling members and members of the opposition, we have had concerns, and this was brought to the fore at Famoso Hotel where we had a caucus. And we thought that certain changes were going to be made in the way we were going to table the budget. So he is new, and he should learn to listen to those who have been at the institution longer than he has.
Honorable Kamtiongo,
morality in the way we do politics.
Honorable Kamtiongo, I've given you, I've given you enough time to get your points across. Thank you very much for your call.
I'm very grateful for the chance, and I wish my colleague all the best.
All right, let's squeeze in two more calls. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Yeah,
Buena Banji, Mwanda Nzina.
Zina yanga ndine judgment day kamayo stumbe kontumira kuno kwa Kanyama.
Va stumbeko kamayoyo?
Yeah.
Kamayo question yan.
Ba honorable Mlibanji kapena wa president.
Niribu inova kamayoyo sikoma kwa mbili.
Yeah, banani gwezera 200 yanu ya mene mwenzo kuno inirira ku president yoro banani bera socha be banani warako. Mutendere muri nao Bakafwaya. Apo pamene ni kamba so tembe ndimwe muri mu government. Azibazura hapo. Tembe makada zibazura hapo kuti gari nkomba akachoka omo mapanga aende keroenda mu mutu. Bakafwaya timwe pamweka nikaribomvera kwati magona maseru chifuata chani simunabe mwenzo tewenzera ma abantu banu bati wanganu benze kuba Bakafwaya tembe munaba tembe wa corruption tembe wanani konka kudala olori yaba FYC tembe naimwe tembe muri so ikirizani kuserenza na chikurupiriro ndiye chamene wafuna wa president ikaende ichigema valungu vevenzo kamba kuti mule babati mushe kwembuto ba president bakamba chingawai valove ife apaso kirina company ya fertilizer United Capital Fertilizer amene tinapanga ni uze nkodi company amene bana siya valungu ya fertilizer constitutionally muli wasata na bawinta twenze kinamvera kiyasova balungu banakitengo endo chisaina nishibazizimira menso so bwamene banasaina bafuniko vikonka ngati benzo kambati bataina na menso yobala chifukwa chotaziwa bwamene benze mujasembe chibenzo taina chifukwa chibenzo ziwa kuti muli chani umu manje banataina benzo ziwa benze mukati lekanira mulo baikonke
bakama yo zikomo kwambiri tenga ma question yanu wakafaya baza kuyankana
zikomo mulungu chunga
zikomo 0974-7077 0950-955-877 Honorable Mutotwe Kafwaya in studio this morning. We'd like to hear from you. Good morning.
Good morning, the guest, Honorable Kafwaya. How are you?
Morning. Thank you so much. I'm well, thank you. I hope you are well too.
Yeah, I'm not okay. The poverty levels in this country is too high.
What's your name?
Kafwaya. My name is Mr. Chikwabe.
What's the name on your NRC?
You know, Kafwaya, it's very unfortunate that
Mr. Chikwabe, what's your actual name, the name that's on your NRC?
That is my name on the NRC.
What's your full name, please?
My full name is Chikwabe Piri.
Okay. Please go ahead.
But how many times are you going to ask this name?
Please go ahead with your question. Please ask your question.
You know, Mr. Kafwaya, you should not be worried about the parliament which you are having today. We know for sure, we as Zambians, that the parliament is a disaster. There is too much breakdown law of law. When you hear the minister, like Home Affairs minister answering such, I was very shocked. The minister, which has just taken from the blues. When you hear even the president standing on the podium, just speaking about intercity, these are people who have got no even agenda to speak for the nation. That's the one, the fact they have got no agenda. They are standing for the country, speaking about. We're going to eat you. These are people who can speak through the economy. How is the economy performing in this country? Nothing, completely a disaster. We are were cheated, corrupt mindset. When you are saying that corrupt mindset, this is what they did. They were telling the Zambian people that this bag of minimum we are buying at one and expensive. When I just come into power, it will be 50 watts. 10 hours, 14 hours, dollar will come down. And we were asking the question, how are you going to do? And there will be attraction of investors. Where is those investors? These people, profiteers who are turning gold into jackal, you should not even worry with them. The law is going to face for them. How many scandals have you been hearing under the midst of health, under the midst of mind? There are so many scandals what is happening in this country. So these people are thinking that they are so much clever. They are not even much clever. No matter they can be protected, but time will come for them. The law itself, which they are hiding themselves, is going to follow them. Zambian people are just waiting. The parliament which you are in, it is not even admirable. People of Zambia, they are shocked with that parliament. Imagine, the answers which are coming out from this so-called Madam Vice President and the government ministers. It is very undeniable for the poor Zambians.
Wapiri, I've given you enough time to get your points across. We have to let you go and allow Honorable Kafwaya to respond. Thank you very much. Honorable Kafwaya, as we bring this program to a close, please respond to the cause of the.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. I think let me start with the Honorable Kafwaya. It would have been the last caller. I could have started with him, because he's our leader, like Honorable Kabuswe. I think I picked a few pertinent issues in what Honorable Kampiongo said. He has reminded Minister Kabuswe that you were PF, you were among us. So even those things you are talking about on the copper belt, you must know. You must know better. Me, I'm a PF. I live in Lusaka. I've lived in Lusaka and Lunte for the period of my political life. So when HH was at San, I wasn't on the copper belt, but Kabuswe was there. And when Kabuswe talks about the criminals in PF, we must remember that that is a background is coming from. He's just been UPND for 3 years. So it's very important, I think, to measure the thinking. It's the same for other brothers who I can easily mention, but I won't mention them because they didn't participate on this particular interaction. The other thing I think the other thing I think Honorable Kampiongo mentions is am I reading is okay, they are here. He mentions the issue of the Attorney General. I think Honorable Kabuswe, you need to learn from what has happened in the past. Because when and the Honorable Stephen Kampiongo was one of the ministers who stayed in office after the dissolution of Parliament. So they have been made to pay because there was a court judgment that they should refund, even though the Attorney General had provided an opinion which was favorable for them to stay in office. So stop talking about the Attorney General's opinion, which you can refuse. And say, even though you are thinking this way, Attorney General will go the other way. Stop insisting that the Attorney General's opinion is what will save you. What should save you is accountability, it is transparency, it is honesty, it is integrity. That is what will save you. So if you don't have those attributes in your transaction or in the way you transact business, public business, you may end up being in trouble, even though you think you are covered by the Attorney General's, but I sincerely hope that maybe Honorable Kabuswe may not speak about UPND the way he's speaking about PF. Maybe my older brother Honorable Kampiongo, you never provided a bigger platform for Honorable Kabuswe when he was in PF. Maybe he thinks being mayor was a small achievement, but being minister now in UPND is a huge achievement. So he can flip and be so unkind to a political party which gave him political life. Stumbeko is asking me about a number of things. We have peace, we have this, we have that. Honorable Gary Nkombo, if he came here during our time, there will be cadres waiting for him. And I recall Gary Nkombo dancing here in this studio. And you, Pizzi, you were interviewing him. Did the cadres beat him up downstairs? I didn't hear that. Gary Nkombo came here for the breakfast show, and you and others were dancing with him. I don't understand where one event or two events can be so generalized. Let's stop this. You can point out a wrong. There is no problem. But that wrong should be isolated. And you should say, the problem is here. Let's sort out this problem. And I have to repeat, hooliganism and political violence does not constitute the lack or presence of the rule of law. The rule of law is obeying laws. But of course, Mr. Chikubabe also says some things. Is worried about Parliament. And if you recall, Honorable Kampiongo also tried to help me to school Honorable Kabuswe, because Honorable Kabuswe has never been a committee member. He's never been a backbencher. So he doesn't understand. And it's dangerous to talk about things that you don't understand. It's very dangerous. Well, on account of time, I think that all the issues Machikubabe raised concerning economics, corruption everywhere, including in the mines, in the Ministry of Mines, all these matters should be looked at by the President with a serious eye, an eye which says, let's fix our country. But as I said in the beginning, the only help that we, the Zambian people, can give UPND is to boot them out of power, because they have lost legitimacy. They have also lost the ability to govern this country.
We also have one more call. I understand the Honourable Member for Kantanshi is on the line. Honourable Anthony Mumba is joining us on the hot seat. Good morning, Honourable. How are you this morning?
Well, good morning, Busy, and good morning, Lunte. I hope you sound well, and I can imagine you must be well.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Honourable Mumba. I'm fairly okay.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I thought I could also add my voice, Busy, to this very important program. And I think that to start with, it is not a role of us in opposition to clap for the government. Our role is to help them to govern better. And if you look at all the issues that Honorable Kafwaya has raised, let's talk about ZAMSA. Okay, the confusion which has rocked that institution. Today, we even have challenges of ambulances that should have been in our constituencies to provide for better health service. Look at what happened to the Ministry of Health. The Secretary to Treasury, after the expose of the $6.8 million contract relating to a PS, he moved in quickly to ensure that he strips off the powers of that particular individual remaining a controlling officer. But from the head of state, we have heard nothing. Okay? You move to Ministry of Energy, the pipeline. Okay? The IMF realized to say millions of dollars was invested of taxpayers' money so that our people in Zambia can have cheaper fuel. You have one Asian cadre coming from the UPND, well known, controlling 99% of the usage of that pipeline. You come to the mining sector. Today, all Zambians, including just a taxi driver, for him to get to renew his driver's license, when paying, he has to produce a tax lien certificate to prove that he pays taxes. Mining companies, close to $500 million. Well, if that $500 million was sitting in the treasury, the benefit and the slogan that PF stands for of less taxes, more money in people's pockets can be easily realized. Nothing is being done. So, as in the PF, we are talking about practical things that the government can see and react to make sure that our country gets better. PF managed to make MMD successful. President Mwanawasa today has made history because of a strong opposition and a strong oversight, which is what we are trying to provide. And we should not as a party fail to do that. Because if we do that, we'll fail our people. Our people will have nowhere to fall back on. And therefore, the success of the UPND is a success of the Zambian people. It is also the success of us in the opposition. It's success for the country. So when we are expressing our opinions and trying to help government realign itself, just a few examples I've given. ZESCO today, why do you have a board member? All those are members from the UPND. One board member says, no way, there is micromanagement coming from this board chairman. No action from government. We have stories of board members in various government, various parastatals controlling even how that company pays its suppliers. Some have even got payment of suppliers lists on their phones. That is abuse of authority. And I hope they are preparing themselves, because those prisons that they have bought new mattresses and painting them will be ready for them. So, Honorable Kafwaya, let's continue to talk for our people, and let's continue reminding the government. These are not the creation of us. These are happening in the institutions that they are running. And therefore, we must hold them accountable.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll ask you to be very brief. We've run out of time for you to, if you have anything to add to Honorable Mumba's contribution.
Honorable Mumba is spot on. Is spot on in all his. Honorable Mumba has sounded very, very patriotic and somebody who represents the people. In this particular conversation, I would give him all the marks there is if I was his lecturer. Listen, this UPND government is just infested by scandals, and I'm sorry. The ZAMSA is a big problem. It was a big problem for procurement. The chairperson there said so. One newspaper quoted as saying, we have to consult these people at State House to clear the people to deal with us here. I don't know if the pharmaceutical company was cleared by State House. That pharmaceutical company from the compound was cleared by the State House to supply ambulances, which, by the way, the money was deducted from the much publicized CDF. So CDF money has already gone. The ambulances are not there. We are waiting for a pharmaceutical company to supply. $6.8 million. It's unfortunate, but he praises the ST for acting, and then he's questioning why the head of state is quiet. I'm sorry, Honorable Mumba, but I'm sorry to the Zambian people. We expect the UPND government to remain quiet when it comes to these matters, because this is not different from the other corruption allegations and refusing audits and illegal audits and so on, including all these other issues that we have been able to establish here. Mining sector. Pipeline is what I didn't talk about. It never came to my mind when we were conversing. The pipeline is, even IMF has talked about that. You know, free that space. Let there be competition in there. So if you free the pipeline, if you allow all players to utilize that pipeline, maybe the elite of petrol won't be 32 kwacha.
Honorable, I'd like to thank you very much for coming through the hot seat this morning.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, our listeners. I'm delighted that we could have time together.
All right, there you have it. That's our show for this week. We're back next week, Tuesday, with another edition of the Hot Seat, right here on your number one for news and entertainment. It's good morning, and you enjoy the Urban Vibe coming up next.
You listen to the Hot Seat on Hot. That was the Hot Seat. Don't forget to join them next week at the same time.
Peter, I am not in UPN.